The Star Wars brand is no longer what it once was. There are multiple lines of evidence to prove this irrefutable fact. Why, only in our last video, we covered how the president of Diamond Select Toys stated pretty much exactly that. But, dear fans of Star Wars, be not afraid. On the contrary, rejoice, for Lucasfilm has a plan on how to restore Star Wars to its former glory. And courtesy of an exclusive scoop from Variety, we just got a glimpse into what their plan might entail. You see, there is a brand new Star Wars series in development for Disney+, and while we do not know much about it, we have learned that it involves the key term which assures commercial success and fan approval all around: female-centric. All sarcasm aside, in this editorial, I'll go through just what we know about this new series, what we know about the person who will be giving it to us, and finally, why I think the manner in which we learned of this indicates something of a power struggle behind the scenes. To be clear, this information has not been formally announced, which I find very interesting and which I'll get back to. Till then, do take note that instead of being announced, this has been strategically and deliberately leaked to Variety, who reveals, well, pretty much everything we would have gotten in an early official announcement, and everything we need to know to see where this is going. The series hails from Leslye Headland, the co-creator, showrunner, and executive producer of the critically acclaimed Netflix series Russian Doll. Details of the exact plot of the series are being kept under wraps, but sources tell Variety it will be a female-centric series that takes place in a different part of the Star Wars timeline than other projects. Here, I'd like to add that female-centric does not merely mean female-led, but something much more fundamental and ideologically driven. Going back to the scoop, Headland is said to be attached to write and serve as showrunner on the series, with the show currently staffing. Variety then proceeds to list Leslye Headland's previous work, imply how awesome she is, and flat out state how many awards Russian Doll has won, which seems very deliberate. So, who is she, and what can we expect her to bring to Star Wars? Although Variety does not say this, it is well known that the recurring and even defining themes of her work is that it is female-centric, diverse, the real meaning of which we'll get back to, and LGBT. Leslye Headland started her career as an assistant in Miramax, and she even spent 1 year as Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant, no less. While she did not speak out about anything going on, she did put her experiences to good use. Since 2007, she's been a playwright, and as a playwright, she is known for her 7 Deadly Sins cycle, a series of 7 plays, all centered around one of the 7 deadly sins. One of these plays was inspired by her experiences working for Harvey Weinstein, and this one even features a Harvey Weinstein stand-in. Interestingly, the Weinstein-inspired play is neither about lust, nor wrath, nor gluttony, but about greed. Her plays aren't necessarily known for their tight plots or well-crafted stories, but for their broken, predominantly female characters. This female-centric focus is something Headland took with her, both into the TV and movie-making business. While she hasn't been too vocal about her service working for Harvey Weinstein, in an interview with American Theatre, she was conveniently hiding behind NDAs. She has been very vocal in her condemnation of Harvey Weinstein himself, as well as of white male executives in the industry in general, labeling them as silent killers where diversity and representation is concerned. And these are causes she is fighting for. So much so that she even deemed it necessary to delete a few hundred tweets just before the Star Wars news hit, apparently because she might have gone a bit overboard with her rhetoric in some of them. Take note of that. She knew this leak was coming. However, she has also taken female executives to task for not being sufficiently gung-ho, labeling them as silent killers too, not doing enough to further the causes of diversity and representation in Hollywood.
I would say that, like, I think white women need to kind of step up their game, to be quite honest. Like, sorry, but I'm calling you bitches out. Like, you really do, because, like, I'm also seeing the silent killer, which is a lot of white women at the top who are kind of reinforcing a lot of old ideas. I think a lot of it, to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll just speak from my own personal experience, it's just like, I wasn't sure how to be an ally. I wasn't sure what type. I got so caught up in, like, what kind of terminology I was supposed to be using and being politically correct. And so as I started to rise in television, I started to just get more blunt and just start saying, like, I would like a black writer. Because if I said diverse, you get, well, white is diverse, which is something somebody said to me. And I was like, wow. I was like, it's not cool, but
So, she likes to be blunt. She doesn't like to be politically correct. She is therefore refreshingly open about what terms like diverse actually means. Or at least what it should mean, according to her, namely non-white. So, anyone wondering why there are no calls for diversity in movies featuring an all-black or all-Asian cast? Now you know why. Be that as it may, she is now the showrunner for a new Star Wars series. So, what in her resume makes her a good fit for Star Wars? Keep in mind, I haven't seen too much of her work myself, as I'm hardly the target audience for most of it, but based on the descriptions of what she has done, there appears to be nothing that screams this can be applied to a long time ago in a galaxy far away. Absolutely nothing. She is an activist though, and a hardcore one at that, even more so than Rian Johnson. It looks like Kathleen Kennedy, the activist in charge of Lucasfilm, has some pull yet. Because Leslye Headland does seem like just the kind of person she would want to hire. And that, my friends, brings us right back to what I said earlier about this being leaked, not announced. I happen to believe that is significant. Disney and Lucasfilm have shown before that they can keep a secret when they want to, and if something they doesn't want to leak ends up leaking anyway, it tends to leak to, the likes of Reddit, us, Doomcock, and other quote-unquote irreputable outlets that time has a tendency to prove right after the fact. But when something leaks to trades like Variety, it's because someone within Disney, or possibly within Lucasfilm, wanted it to leak. I stress someone, because the company as a whole might not be unified in their desire for it to leak. If they were, it would have been announced. This leak right here reminds me of an earlier such leak. Do you remember when Kathleen Kennedy's contract was renewed for 3 more years after the release of The Last Jedi? The trades reported on it, but Disney never announced it. There was no press conference, no public show of support to an executive under fire, no photos of Bob Iger congratulating Kennedy on a job well done. Instead, Bob Iger said publicly that he was in charge of Star Wars now, and there were rumors of him wanting to fire her, but that he couldn't find a replacement that the board would accept and who was willing to step into her role. Because, the mess she had left Star Wars in was almost as bad as the one Aqua Lady left in Pirate Guy's bed. So, how did we learn that Kathleen Kennedy had in fact been renewed? Her camp leaked it to the trades. That's how. And that is what I think is happening here as well. And let me stress that. This is what I think, not what I know, and not even what I heard. I'm just going by the optics of the situation, and I could be way wrong. They could be unified behind this, but I don't think so. To me, with the way this was leaked to Variety, and more importantly, the way the Variety scoop was worded, this looks an awful lot like someone behind the scenes are trying to force this into being made. The way things really are right now, Someone, say Kathleen Kennedy, can initiate any project that she wants, but as Bob Iger has made clear before, and he was pretty quick to take power over Disney back when the going got tough. He is the buck stops here guy where all things Star Wars are concerned. Others may develop, but Bob Iger decides what gets the green light and what doesn't. As a general thing, behind closed doors, many different projects can have been developed and can even have had showrunners attached, only to be shut down without the movie-going and TV-watching public ever learning of them. That's actually quite common. Now, hold that thought, and let's do a thought experiment. Imagine for a moment that Kathleen Kennedy did hire someone like Leslye Headland to develop another female-centric Star Wars project for her, but she was worried that Iger might shut it down, all behind closed doors. If that were to happen, no one would know, and no one would protest, and Jon Favreau's Mandalorian would still be hailed as the savior of Star Wars. That would be a bitter pill for Kathleen Kennedy to swallow, now wouldn't it? But imagine if the world knew Leslye Headland, the celebrated showrunner of the acclaimed Russian Doll, was developing a female-centric, diverse and inclusive Star Wars series. One that checks all the boxes of what Hollywood today deems to be good and virtuous. Imagine if this was instantly praised as the best thing since sliced bread by every opinion leader in or remotely connected to the industry. Then imagine the optics of Iger shutting down something like that. Imagine the pushback he and Disney would be getting if they failed to proceed with something like that, after it had been effectively announced by Variety. Just look at Twitter right now. The warriors are already out in force, taking delight in Star Wars fans expressing disappointment over the further politicization of the franchise they grew up with. Imagine this aggressive Twitterati turning on Iger and Disney. What would be the optics of that? I think some variation of that is what's going on here, because this kind of leaking looks, to me at least, more like political maneuvering than it does testing the waters, or one party's ploy to get more money, which are other common reasons for news like this leaking to the trades. Honestly, I think the reason Variety says the story is being kept under wraps is that there isn't one, not yet. I think Kathleen Kennedy hired Leslye Headland specifically to do something, anything female-centric, and they don't even know what yet. But now that they've put the news out there, now that they've gotten the entertainment media complex and Twitterati all fired up, it will be very hard for Bob Iger to shut it down. Disney in general, and Lucasfilm in particular, is a house divided. I will do a follow-up on that, but for now, let me know what you think. Could I be onto something, or am I reading way too much into it? Either way, let me know how excited you are for Leslye Headland's female-centric Star Wars in the comments.